Well, it's an enormous contribution to the community. It's an incredibly enormous a gift, I guess, that you're offering us, not only to learn about domestic violence generally, but also more specifically your experience, because I'm guessing that not all experiences of domestic violence will look the same, but they may all have very similar themes that run across from one relationship to the next when power and control and abuse are prevalent.
Well, you named it. I think that's exactly right. And I think that's an important message for people to understand, that domestic violence doesn't mean physical violence. We tend to think that that's what it means, and that's where our mind goes first. And yes, that was a part of Russell's relationship. It was very physically violent, but not all are. And it just because it doesn't have physical abuse in it doesn't mean that it's not abusive. Emotional abuse, psychological abuse, financial abuse, anything that's where one person has all the power and uses it to the detriment of the other is domestic violence. And that can also be outside of intimate partner violence. It doesn't have to be people in a romantic relationship. It can be parent to child. We're very used to this. It's almost a cliche, the idea that a young person comes out and their dad yells at them and their mom cries and all of that goes on, or they get kicked out of the house, and we kind of go, oh yeah, that's just a coming out story. But actually that's abuse. That's a young person being told that you're not good enough. Who you are is not acceptable in our eyes. And if it were for any other reason, we would never look at that and go, oh yeah, that's just not for me to say. A teacher wouldn't hear a kid talk about their family saying, my dad doesn't want me to have access to hormones because it won't allow me to transition to be my true gender. If we were hearing someone say, I have cancer and dad won't let me be treated, you'd be going, that's abuse. Right. Let's call in the authorities. It's really quite interesting when you look at how different it becomes when you're talking about LGBTI people in abusive situations.
Right. Well, in a way, it's a call to action. It broadens the accountability. This show does do that. It makes it there's no excuses, I guess. People will see themes in this show that they can now understand as domestic violence, which is information that they'll take with them. Has the show become everything you've wanted it to be? Or where's this going? What's next for the show?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, this show will happen for as long as it takes to make change. And if we can be a catalyst for that type of change through this show, then we're achieving absolutely everything. One day I would like never to have to do this show again, because I would like for this not to be an issue anymore.
We might do a different show that's really light and happy.
Yeah, right.
A total comedy.
Yeah. Well, we'll look forward to more shows from you guys, but we want to thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us today about such an important issue, a very invisible issue. We're bringing some light to this issue. So thanks again for chatting to us, and good luck with the show.
Thanks, Anthony.
If you've heard something in our conversation today that makes you think perhaps you're using control or abuse in your relationship, you can contact VAC at vac.org.au or QLife.
If in our conversation today it's made you think about anyone you know, maybe a colleague or a friend or a family member even, that this sounds like could be happening in their relationship, please head to qlife.org and speak to a volunteer counsellor about what you might be able to do to help that person. Or you can go to anothercloset.com.au and have a look at the information there for how bystanders can help someone experiencing violence.
If anything in our conversation today has made you realise that maybe you're in a domestic violent relationship, contact Queerspace. They have a specialist LGBTI domestic violence support worker available to talk to you today. Alternatively, call QLife and talk to a volunteer counsellor.